Stream has started. Cue music. Cue dancing. Hello. Welcome to the front lines with Dan Lutz and
Tank.
here at wwg1wga.love front lines, where we're here fighting on the front lines against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all of the other deep state players that are just bad guys.
In general, man.
In general. And we're looking at the situation out there. Seeing Comey is out there and everyone's coming down hard on him. Looks like it's the worst thing for him not to be prosecuted, because now they're saying all this here, like, he did all this and he's not prosecuted. Why? The question is why? And so that's, I think, going to be his big nightmare.
Well, I think the reason why is because why prosecute someone or even bring a whole lot of attention to something so insignificant, that he could probably just justify away, when you can actually talk about the fact that he plotted and conspired against an American citizen, and then a elected president, and then the sitting president, and waste millions and millions of dollars allowing that to progress, and covered up the crimes of Hillary Clinton, and from what I understand from the lawyers, you can't say treason. I don't know if it's espionage. I'm not sure what it is. But basically, he's a traitor. Right. I mean, no, that's not true. He's not a traitor. He's always been loyal to his Satanist religion, and continues to be that way.
Well, he does have an oath of office, right, to become the director of the FBI.
Questionable. The FBI technically is not a government organization, right? It's a private organization. So, that's part of the challenge with all these things, is that they all act as government agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is they're not.
McDonald's, Burger King, fast food restaurants.
It's like the U.S. Treasury, or the USA Treasury Incorporated, is an independent organization that was, along with the Federal Reserve, is established really in the same world, same time. And when they were set up, they were actually set up to act as the intercessor between the government and the unknown country. And it's so interesting because that's the aspect of the contract that people don't realize, that when these corporations are set up, they have a contractual agreement. So they had an infinity agreement that expired in 2014. That essentially, they were supposed to act as just the intermediary between the unknown country and the governments, or the people. That's why Steve Mnuchin thinks he's so powerful, because he thinks he's the top of the apex of everything. So, but the reality is he's just another one of the Illuminonkeys. So,
yeah, it's a good name. I was thinking, you know what? Why do we call them illuminated, though? So we could say the dark donkeys.
Good question. Yeah. Lucifer. Actually, the word "loose" actually goes back to the word "light," right?
Right.
So even Lucifer does the cover. And then depending on who you talk to, they'll tell you Lucifer is, one entity or another. You know, I suspect it all goes back to like, the three at the top there with Anu,
Inky and Enlil.
Well, I don't think Enlil. I think Enlil is Marduk actually.
Oh, okay.
That's what I understand. And I'm sure lots of people consider themselves experts and historians, and that would disagree maybe.
Yeah, I know.
But,
I hear different things, and then I get like, okay, is that the same guy as this one? And so it's a little confusing, and I guess it's meant to be, purposely obscured, and false information, Indian trails, and the like that make you think you're on the right track, but you're on the wrong one. But they planted the information to lead you to nowhere. Standing in the middle of the deserts, wandering for 40 years.
Back in the day before I met Kim, I was calling out to. I was picking this fight with all the Chinese elders, everybody I could think of. Right, I was just calling everybody out for their anything I could. All the intel that I had, I would put out both sides of the intel, whether it was what I believed or not. I was sure everything, right? And I was talking about this with the whole kind of illuminated love and light crowd, right? Saying, one of the things I had a problem with what they would talk about is no one ever had real experiences, right? They couldn't really prove anything. There's no real hard documents to show who's who and what's what, And I got contacted by a galactic historian once. She gave me a lot of really interesting information. But Kim is the only person who's ever it was Anu, Marduk, and Enki, right? And Marduk and Enki were brothers. And she worked directly under Marduk. He was the head. But obviously Enki was like allegedly like a half-breed of some sort that, was frowned upon. But in that,
I thought Inky was the one that tweaked our DNA and made us, humanity.
Yeah, I think he gave us a soul. So and at one point Kim said like one of the brothers wasn't bad or wasn't all bad. So I think he might have actually survived the the kind of the massacre when they all went down. But one of the things she said to me that I remember clearly was that she said these aren't people that I just saw in meditation. She goes, these are people I rode with on airplanes, spoke to, and had meetings with. So it wasn't like it's like so she was the first person I ever talked to. I was like, oh, you're it was all, and I remember feeling like she just read my mind just now because that's always my question.
Yeah. Well, that is that's good to know. The airplane part was right on airplanes, broke bread with him, I guess, and she was working with them closely, right, while they were training her. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know with Marduk, that he was definitely her, like her mentor in the beginning. He taught her the system, and she was included on these meetings where they would be, setting up all these constant plans, right? And they would mess with her constantly, right? And whenever she would call them on their stuff, they would basically say, you passed the test. Or that was the thing. It's test. You did good. You did well, right? And and people could. And she thought they were her bosses, right? Like she didn't realize what was going on. It took 2 years, I think, to kind of figure that out. And somebody kind of said to her one day, or somebody pulled her aside. I'm not sure who it was, but I suspect it was Shane, the ruiner, pulled her aside and told her, you don't need them to access the system. Yeah. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd wondered, who was that. They actually took the question out of my mind. Who was the one that actually pulled her aside?
Yeah, I mean Shane, as far as I can tell, on the Ruiner. If you ever go read the Ruiner, I can't remember. It's like the Ruiner or something, like some number, like the Ruiner 77 or something like that.
I got one of those one of the videos from Thomas's site, right? the one they
Yeah.
must listen to, with Kim, I guess. And I think there's conversation about that. So, but yeah, that's very very interesting. So
Well, she told me that is the most accurate, um, chronology or account of everything that she could witness to. But she saw the things that he was describing that she had seen,
mhm.
and so when she read it, she's like, oh, like this is, she wasn't raised in the Illuminati, so when she was exposed to it, like she had to learn very fast.
Well, was Kim born in the U.S. or in America?
Yeah, she was born. She was born in Boston.
Okay.
Raised in the
I
South.
figured that. I guess Russian heritage, but born in America. I just didn't know where.
Yeah. Kim is, she's really an extraordinary person, on top of just all her, these incredible things we talk about. But she like raced cars when she was a kid, like when she was like 18. And so one day when I'm on the phone with her and Paul, and Kim starts just out of the blue starts talking about how to fix a radiator, right? And she starts talking about how you put the sealant in. You really got to put two cans of sealant in, and you let it do this. She explained all the really intricate like mechanic kind of detail. Totally out of the blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then come to find out, Paul, he had a car that he had to fix the radiator, and and that's what was on his mind. So she just kind of addressed it. She just kind of pulled it from him, I guess. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's so random.
Yeah. It is.
So
I was just say it's interesting when that experience happens, where you're able to mind read, right? When you pick up on what's what's happening. This level of communication, I find it exists more than people realize, right? And it's really more than the words. When you're speaking to someone, there's more coming through, right? And that's at an energetic level, at a higher level, consciousness level. That communication exists.
yeah, I mean, telepathic communication is really done with images and vibration, right? So you just kind of match someone's frequency or another being. I mean, this is how most of the beings in the universe communicate, right?
Yeah.
And they just kind of match. It's also, you can use the same tool to learn a language, right?
Yeah.
Just by matching the frequency and just listening for a while.
Something I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just something that's coming. My granddaughter, who's newly born, is not doing well. She's having problems breathing. I think it's something with her trachea, something along those lines. And I was doing some praying, energetic healing for her, because she's really having a problem. She's got weird sounds coming from her, and of course my daughter's very not doing well because of this situation. I was just thinking about maybe doing some energetic healing, maybe with your with Faith. I don't know if that would be.
Yeah, Faith Ferris and Shalea. I mean, in this group, and the people that listen to us, and the people that have contacted me over the years. I mean, I've spoken to hundreds of energetic healers. Some of them.
Her name is
All
Savannah.
using different methods. I think that's something we can do. Yeah. I'd be more than willing to do that, Dan. I'll set that up tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be good. Just wondering, bring up a picture of her.
It's amazing what can be done with the energy. It's the key to everything. So, AOC is out there attacking white men now. Now, if you're a white man, you should be converted to being gay. Comey is getting, I think it's the best thing ever that Comey didn't get accused. And true to form, he was cocky as ever, right? Coming out with a whole bunch of arrogance, like an idiot.
Oh, could you enable sharing for me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1 second. And then
Right now, I'm showing. I've got it right now up on YouTube right now. It's going through, but this is a picture. She's wait. I'm just sharing.
oh, that's great. It's beautiful. Oh, she's so pretty. I love it. I love it.
Well, that's it.
That is awesome.
It looks like a professional photographer. They got to do it. So she's looking adorable. Her name's Savannah.
Oh, she's beautiful. I love the name too. I love that name, Savannah.
Yeah.
So pretty. Well, I'm sure she's going to be okay. You know, we need all the good guys, at their best. So, yeah, it's funny. I just pulled a picture like that of my kids when they were little. My daughter was 8 days old. Where is it? See, there's my little people. my daughter and my two sons. It's too cute.
Are they twins?
Yeah, I have twin boys and a 6 years old now.
Are they identical?
Not even close.
Not even close. Yeah. They look similar, but not identical.
Yeah.
I used to call my ex-wife from India. She's a twin, right? And her brother, right? I used to call them identical twins because they were so much alike, right?
That's cool.
They didn't look alike at all, but they acted alike. So it was my joke.
My sons are best friends, and I told every girl I ever dated from the 7th grade on that I was going to have twin boys one day. So, just manifested them into existence. No twins in my family or their mom. So,
it's all you.
yeah. I'm just saying.
You take
works.
responsibility for that. Yeah. Well, when I let's say impregnated my wife, I said to her, "It's a boy." I said from the very beginning, I said, "It's a boy." She said, "Well, how do you know?" And there was all these other old wives' tale Indian things that were going on, and whatever strange things that they were doing. To say, "Oh no, it's going to be a girl." They kept I said, "No, it's a boy." It's a boy, and it came out a boy. Right. Next time around, I said, "It's a girl." And the same thing happened. They said, no, it's a boy. No, it's a girl. And it came out a girl. And they say, how do you do that? And I said, because that's what I wanted.
It's not from America where we have Babe Ruth and we call our shots. Just say.
That's it. Yeah, you call our shots. That's it. It's a boy.
It's a boy. That's right.
It's a girl. Yeah.
So this mainstream media is talking about this hurricane hit, right? And meanwhile, they were talking about it like they had everybody on watch, and it just kind of veered off along the coast and looks like it's heading, away from Florida, or like it's gonna hug the coastline, but it's not gonna. Doesn't look like the eye is really gonna hit. That's good.
That's good. Yeah. It was interesting because I'm going to suspect that it was diverted by the White Hats.
Yeah.
Because the lead up to this, right, was so much and even Trump, right, the way he was talking about it, right, it was like he had a Trump card in his back pocket, right. I got that feeling from him that he was just, putting that, talking about, we're preparing, we're doing all, but, in his back pocket, he had a Trump card to play.
Right.
So I said, what is I'm thinking, what is the White Hat plan to allow this to happen, right? It's like, there's some Serial Brain 2 stuff that came out about it as well, and, that it was like, it's like, it's like part of a plan, It kind of this front that's coming, right? But poof, they just divert it. So now we're talking about control over the weather system. I'm wondering, I know that they shut down the HARP system in Alaska, but then a new one
Right.
got up and running in Antarctica. And when the HARP is running and it's creating these weather phenomena, like Katrina, for example, I saw a lot of the data that basically showed that the energy patterns that were out there in the middle of the Gulf were like the squiggling going back and forth in the same area, like it was like they aimed a big microwave dish and bounced it off of the atmosphere back down into the water, and they were writing into the water, this pattern that ended up, of course, creating energy in the water, which then created, evaporation and the change of the weather. So, but you could see it in the Doppler radar, right? You could see this pattern going, and they had shown that the HARP in Alaska was up and running at the same time that it was going on, and when it shut off, so did those patterns stop in the Gulf. So, it's so they created Katrina. Interesting also was I had a business partner who was an evangelical pastor in New Orleans, and he very good man, and the first time I ever saw miracles upon miracles was at his church. I mean, it was just like they were dripping with miracles all over the place. It was like almost magical land. It seemed so see over and above what was going on. But they had a woman there who gave like a vision that there was this large storm that was coming, was going to wipe out all their levees, and they were preparing their people for it. The families and that, and telling them to do that. So anyway, it's just interesting how no matter what the plots are out there by the cabal, right? People find a way to maneuver around it through, the positive side of God, and energy that's, put into things, can come out. So where there was this good energy that was vibrating from this church, that they had these things coming about. So many things. I used to, talk a lot about the things that I learned. I was always, believed in God and followed, but I was never one of that followed religion since I left the Catholic Church when I was 13. Though I'd go to all churches. If people were going to go worship, I went. But at that time, that was the first time it was. When I went to New Orleans at that time, I went with an atheist. We each had a 3D animation company where we were actually going to see if we could merge our companies together. So we were kind of doing a trip there. But on that trip, there were so many miracles and these things. I saw this as God's work, and then he was in complete denial. It was all synchronicity. I mean, it was all coincidence. I'm saying it's all synchronicity. It's just all tied together. But to him, it was all separate events that just happened to happen. When I left with him, we had a stopover in St. Louis. Kind of interesting. St. Louis layover was an hour or so. And we were out having a conversation at the coffee shop, and we sat at this Miss Pac-Man machine. And it was the kind that those tabletop ones. You can play side by side on either side, right? So we're sitting there, and it's off. It's not functional, right? So we're just having coffee, and we're talking about it. And I'm saying that we're talking about all these miracles. He said they're not miracles. This just happened to happen. So we're arguing this back and forth, right? And he got upset, right? and he pounded on the Miss Pac-Man machine. Boom! But when he pounded on it, there was a large electrical sound. It was like, right, just so loud that everyone in the whole coffee shop stopped, looked over at us, right? So we had an audience, and the Miss Pac-Man machine lit up, and it was row after row of Miss Pac-Man's faces and hearts and and I swear it spelt God. He didn't see that. I saw that, but it was like the shapes of the characters. It wasn't really a God, but it just seemed like that the shapes of the Miss Pac-Man with the heart and everything was spelling that out. And then I said, "Listen, I'm not getting on the plane with you. You go on."
I look at this is that I always examine words, right? Now, the word coincidence needs to be an exact agreement, right? So people always give coincidence like a bad rap, but I think, well, no, it's an exact agreement, right? And then the term miracle means an act of God, right?
Right.
So if you look at God being in you, right? Because that's really what Scripture talks about, right? Scriptures always talk about God being in you. And you realize everything is an act of God. I mean, your lungs moving, your heart beating, these are all acts of God. These are all miracles in a sense, right? It's just, and it is a coincidence that it works out that way because you're in exact agreement with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be alive, and that's what God wants for you too. So it's all coincidentally miracles, in my opinion.
Okay, I get it. Well, yeah, I in using words sometimes, we're kind of using today's understanding of words to, put, even though they may have a history meaning something different. But I use coincidence and synchronicity as a way to determine, or to express there being, God and spirit and things that are manifested by us coming into agreement, to fall out in line in front of us, right, as we go, and coincidence meaning that someone is really in denial of this, that they have this part to play, and that they're tied into the events. It's almost that they're walking through reality, not realizing the effect that they have.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think that obviously that's happening. There's good people that need to be. There's forces inside and outside of us, right? We're always. I think that just being grateful will naturally, just for whatever circumstance you're in, right? Being grateful that you're cognizant in a moment of, tragedy, or being grateful that you are still alive when, circumstances would seem to dictate that you shouldn't be, or grateful that you have a chance, or you're aware, or all these things. Just being grateful, I think, is the most powerful way to attract exactly what you're talking about. To be in agreement with, greater purpose. I love the idea, the reality that the universe is always conspiring to give you what you want. Right? So all things are working for you, even though things are working against you.
Yep.
That's my experience in life.
I think. Give me a moment. I think I have to shut my doors, or there's going to be too much wind noise for our audience.
Okay.
There we go.
Much better. Much better.
Yeah, wind's kicking up. This is a beautiful day, though. Having this sun is shining, but I can see way, way, way out there that there is a storm over Manila right now and heading this way. So, yeah, about
Oh, man.
maybe an hour, 2 hours from now, it will be raining here. That's okay. I get to fill up my water storage again.
Yeah, it was a torrential downpours here today. A few times. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Water tables up.
yeah.
Been exciting. Hurricanes. My family lives right down in South Carolina, and but we're from upstate New York now. Upstate New York. We grew up in upstate New York. When I was a kid, we would get like 3 snowfalls a year for like 6 feet. It was like normal. We always had crazy snow. So and the weather was always a little sporadic. So my family's like, they don't even do anything when the hurricanes are coming. Category 5 hurricane, they don't even leave their house.
Right.
Like, yeah, we're just watching the storm. No big deal.
Yeah, I know. Same thing as in California when I was there. Oh, earthquake? Yeah, it's okay. That's only a 4. Oh, that's a 5. It's, oh, hey, you feel that? Hey, take the ride. But when you have, I remember one time we had a fairly, big one. It was like a 5.8 and fairly close, and we had some visitors from India. Never felt an earthquake before. They were completely unsettled. Their world got shook.
Yeah, I remember my friend said, for anybody that's afraid of heights, right? They were like, look, there's no reason to be afraid of heights. You're on a rock that's floating in space.
No! Don't tell me that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like no reason to be afraid. Yeah. So, anyways, I guess we're in the second week of what will be supposed to be a global financial collapse. So, I'm interested to see what the resolution is, and I have to believe that can't be going too much longer. Although it sounds like there's some other things in the works, but I was reading this article that Kim put out back in the beginning of the year in January, and she said, pray for the doers, right? She said, while you're sitting, at your armchair, getting angry and wanting, Kim to get it done faster, or people who are looking for the exchanges to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, are you involved? Are you doing anything? Are you doing anything to help it? Like she was asking this question back then. You kind of just saying to people like, versus actually on the ground. Like, there's lots of people on the ground, right, who are putting their life at risk all the time to try and bring about this change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of amazing. The whole world is on the verge of a breakthrough, right? This incredible moment in history where everything is possible that we haven't dreamt about, right? And this is the time where, Thomas has been talking a lot about this, but, for people to step up and do their part, everybody needs, because it's something that's going to take everybody, to really, when you think about that we're going to have the next, say 20 years, just to be conservative, right? 20 years where you're given where you're going to have money infused into the system, and for the first time in my life, where we'll be able to expose and change a lot of the stuff that most people are just accepted as normal, right? Like we have a public educational system. We've all come to just.
Uh-oh. Tank.
Hello?
Hello.
Sorry about that. you have a public educational system that's been used as like the number one mass media device to, kind of implement the protocols, the Khazarian protocols, right? I mean, this is all part of the plan mapped out at like 1865. Everything in the protocols is happening now, right? And
Hello. Space Command to Galactic Unicorn. Come in, Galactic Unicorn.
sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, so this whole idea, education, right? It's like you have all this stuff going on, and now I'm looking at it here in New York. But just the system in general, it's really, I mean, it's not even covert anymore, right? You have there was this legal meeting, and like 400 parents showed up at this legal meeting, right? It was for the lawsuits that they're filing, right? So the first lawsuit in New York lost, right, to basically impose the injunction. And then there's the Human Health Services, right, which basically protects our civil rights. And also they implemented a portion of that, which is the conscience division, right, which protects our rights to have the care, custody, and control of our kids, to have any series of values or ethics that we live by to be defined as our religion. So in other words, not a registered religion, like, CrossFit could be my religion, or, whatever, chicken parm, I guess, like whatever. And the point is that whatever it is that guides my actions, I can define my religion. I have that freedom. And I have the right to define what that is. I have the right to live my life by that as long as I don't harm to anyone else, right? And so this HHS was, basically federally, it goes into place as of November 22nd, and it will put an injunction on all forced vaccines, right?
Is that
so
nationwide or just New York?
That's nationwide. And but I've talked to a few lawyers about this, and none of them even seem to be taking it seriously, right? And so I guess this lawyer, it was brought up to him, and he said, that can't help us. That's a no, it doesn't help us, right? And then I was listening in on the meeting, right? I was on the Zoom call, and I was listening for certain things. And I'm like, did he mention jurisprudence, 177, section 2, where it says that any law that violates our constitutional rights, therefore no law, although it looks like a law, it is not. And
Right.
There is no one who can enforce it, and you do not have to abide by it. Did he mention that? Did he mention that the FDA made a deal back in like 1985, right, when they set up the basically a slush fund for the pharmaceutical companies, so that when they get sued, they have no liability. So in return, what they were supposed to do was they were supposed to have a report that was available every year to show that vaccines were improving and that they were safer and more effective. And when RFK Jr. Requested that report last year, they said we have no record of that. They had no reports whatsoever, none. But you can't just do that, right? This is the deal. This is why you're allowed to have this freedom with vaccine. And meanwhile, they're just like, yeah, we don't have it. Sorry, they couldn't find the reports. So it's like, what do you mean you couldn't find the report? You said at least this year's report. But there's no report, right?
Right.
So
They don't follow through on it. Same thing with making marijuana Schedule 1, no medical use. They have to, by law, have a medical study and periodically update it as to if there is any medical use. And then, of course, it couldn't be Schedule 1 anymore. So, but there are no reports. And in fact, if you try to do one, I say at a university, they'll withdraw funding from that university if you attempt to do those kind of studies.
Right.
They don't abide by the law, right? It's just there, for window dressing.
right? So these attorneys, right? They didn't mention those things. They didn't mention those, and they did not mention informed consent either, or the Nuremberg trial. So now those are three things that if I was the lawyer on the case, and I was filing a lawsuit,
Right.
and I was allowed to bring that information in. Now, first of all, how could you stop it? I just brought up three things that are absolutely rock solid. You have no right to tell me that I have to use my child.
Right.
You are forcing me to use an unsafe, unproven drug, which has more damaging effects to my child than benefit. And because I'm aware of it and conscious that it exists, I have the right to say no.
Right.
Now, others have the right to say yes. They can still do it, right? That's fine.
Right.
And you know what? And I don't want to take them right. Now, that being said, I do think having a fair and balanced discussion about it is the very least that should be done.
Right.
So
without demonizing you for having that
right.
conversation.
Right. So the attorney now he's got kids of his own, right? But in this conversation, they never even brought that up. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't even research. I mean, I'm not even involved. Like, I'm not, like lawyers, there's a ton of stuff to research, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you ignore those things?
Right.
Like, those are the first things you should be talking about, right?
Right.
And in that, it leads to discussion about our religious freedoms, right? You can't tell us that, we have to do this. You just can't. So, but so anyhow, right? You have the collective. It's become culturally accepted that these products, these drugs, which have no studies that show they're of any benefit. Since the year 2000, there's been 3 deaths total from the measles. There's not an outbreak. There's no need for it. There's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that my son should be taking a drug that's going to prevent cervical cancer on women.
Well, it's maybe because he has a new gender later on.
Right. So in other words, like you want to assign the gender to my child, basically what that says to me.
Right. Well, you have this. You must have a cervix.
With their ridiculous, ideology with all this, sure. That's the big promo. Like,
right.
How dare straight sex is rape. So that's the new tagline. So.
What was that? Straight sex is what?
Yeah, they were posting signs up at the straight pride parade, right, where people were marching. Like I guess I don't know. There was more protesters, I guess, than actual people marching, but they basically just gathered, which is their right, to have a straight pride, parade.
Uh-huh.
And it was just,
What color was the flag?
I have no idea.
Blue and pink. One side blue, one side pink.
all I saw was Antifa harassing people. And everybody from Antifa was wearing masks except for they had one black woman who didn't have a mask, and one really fat woman who was yelling at people. And I'm like, yeah, they did that to really appeal, to say, look, we're so multicultural, right?
Right.
That's the first person of any other race than white I have seen yet from Antifa. So they must have put out a casting call to increase their numbers.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder how much he was paid.
I know. It's whatever. It's a wreck. But yeah. So that's kind of where we're at in this debacle. So you know what? An act of God or a truckload of money. That's what Kim says it will take to change it. And I believe that it will take an act of God or a truckload of money.
Driven by God.
Acting. No, with God.
God is in the seat driving the truck.
That's right.
At least in spirit.
That's all I got, man. I don't have any pressing updates. I don't want people getting, don't keep around long enough to get mad.
Oh, that's it then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, that's fine. Well, tomorrow we'll see where we're at. A new day. So, well, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to give positive feedback. No negative feedback is required whatsoever. Thumbs up and spread the link because we're here on the front lines for you.
Yes, indeed. Have a great night, everybody. Bye, Dan.